first of all, I know you guys have probably seen it by now, but let's just look at it so that I have a visual of what I was talking about yesterday. And that is your end of year projects module. You see it says watercolor week 14, and here's some alternate watercolor material ideas, and then these 4 assignments which go with the 4 days of this week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In that video where I go over alternate watercolor materials, I demonstrated using turmeric, using coffee, cornstarch, and then yesterday I showed you that picture that I had done with Sharpie and mud. So let me grab my desktop. Okay. So here was the one I had done with turmeric, cornstarch, and coffee. Here is the one that I had done before when we were doing prehistoric art, like cave art, and I had colored it with mud. This is the one we did yesterday, and then this is an example of a watercolor that I did, and I had no idea what to do with the background, so I just did a crazy watercolor background. So I am not a watercolor person. This is not my preferred medium, and I have to tell you, I was so dang proud of myself for this, because this is not like that. I was like, wow, I'm not a watercolor person, and I did pretty good. So I think that watercolor is very accessible. I think that it's a great medium for us to be using. I think that was the basic stuff that I missed out on telling you yesterday, except for one additional thing. I ordered some gum arabic, so perhaps next week I can try mixing some colors for us in real time. I do have these little makeup powders, which is, you know, pretty close to pure pigment. I mean, they're not pure pigment, but they're highly pigmented, so I could possibly use these as pigment. I mean, they're all very shimmery, and I'm just not really a shimmery person anymore. You know, we all get older. Anywho, so I could try maybe using these with some of that gum arabic as an experiment for you guys and see how that comes out. This was the other one that I did, which was marker mixed with rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, but you could also try just marker with water. Okay, today we are going to be following along with an artist, and since you guys are period 4 and I already did this last period, I get to show you the one that I just made last period. So this is what we're going to be making. And I have this nice yellow arrow that I made showing that this is where the light source is coming from. So since the light is hitting the tree in this direction, we have highlights along this part of the tree, and then mid-tones along this part of the tree, and shadow under here. But of course, because leaves have undersides and also cover up other leaves, we've got some shadows that are not as dark in this region up here as well. So that's what we're going to be working on. So I've got my water ready to go from last period. It's a little dirty, but it's not bad. It's fine. I've got my watercolor palette ready to go, and I had mixed these last period, but I'll show you guys how I made these colors. And I have my paper towel ready to go. We'll be doing some blotting and just like in between colors if you want to wipe your brush off. A little paper towel. Okay. And let's get our mixed media sketchbook. we're gonna go ahead. The red, he reminds me of the red laser pointer. Yes, agreed. Okay, we're gonna rip out a page because otherwise it's just a little bit more challenging to paint with it still in the sketchbook. I'm going to fold it both directions this time and try and get a better tear along the edge. Yesterday I had like the worst tear ever. There we go. I think yesterday just was not my day. All right, so we're going to get started here pretty quick. So if you have not yet grabbed your watercolor materials, go ahead and grab those and get set up. I'm going to set us up with our video and our watercolor artist expert, who we will be following along with. It is not in English, but it is subtitled in English, but we're not going to listen to him anyways. We're just going to watch, and I'm going to explain the technique that he is using, and then we will do our own paper. We will do it on our own paper. So as you can see, looking at the example that the artist has versus my example from last period, they don't look identical. They don't even look that similar. They look quite different. Not to mention I have a nice little blop of paint that I dropped right there, but they look very different, and that's okay. Yours is going to look very different as well, and that's okay. All right. But I have to say, even though I've never done this before, and all I did last period was follow along with the video, I am pretty darn happy with how that came out. So at the end of this class period, whether you like it or don't like it, you're going to take a picture and submit it to me so that you get credit for doing it. All right? We are oftentimes our own worst critic. And if you don't like how it turned out, that's okay. Show it to me so I know you did it, and then you can throw it away. That's fine. You have my permission. But you got to at least show it to me so I know that you tried and I can give you your credit for it. I'm not grading it on how good it is. I am giving you full points for trying. All right? Are we cool with that? Day.
I can't seem to find any watercolors because we were trying to find something in one of my things, so I can't really find any watercolors.
Okay, so what you can do is perhaps follow along using marker, and what you might try doing is sprinkling some water on it after. It's not going to be watercolor, but it might have a cool effect.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing that our artist is going to do is demonstrate the concept of light and shadow and how it works with a tree. Okay, so here is our demonstration. We have a half sphere. We have the light coming up from the top corner, which is where I got the idea for my arrow. And then closest to the light here, we have a tone. We are not getting pure white reflected at us. We're getting a color. We're getting green, usually a bright green, with a lot of white light being reflected back at us, but it's usually green. Then in the middle, we would have a mid-tone of green being reflected back at us. And then in the shaded part, the shadow part, we would have the deepest green being reflected back at us. And it's not going to be black because it's not devoid of any light or color. It's just darker because there's less light coming back to our eyeballs. Now, if we shaded our tree exactly like this, it would look like it was made out of plastic or something. So this is just in general, if it was a plastic sphere, it would have a gradation of the color for a highlight, a midtone, and a shadow. Now, because there's leaves and they create shadows on top of one another, and they have shadows underneath them, this gets kind of mixed up. And so this is just a general gradation of how we're going to move our color tones through the tree and where we're going to concentrate the most midtones in the middle, the most shadow tones in this corner, and the most highlights in that corner. And then we'll come in and add a little bit of each tone to the different sections. So we'll walk you through it. We'll see exactly how this looks. Now this drawing here is just a demonstration of the light and shadow. We are not going to draw that on our paper. If you want to draw on your paper, you can draw the general shape of the tree, but you're not going to shade it in, and it's going to be just very light. You can just barely see where our artist has the pencil marks, and in fact, this is probably darker than he would even use, and he's only put that there so that it will be picked up by the camera. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw a general half circle shape for my tree. You can too if you want, but you don't have to. And I'm going to do it very lightly because I don't want it to detract from my final painting. Okay, so you can barely see it on there. And that's just to kind of give me a guide so that when I'm like going crazy with my paintbrush, I'm like, okay, slow it down, just this area, and I don't go all the way to the edge. Okay, I'm gonna move this to the side and bring in the paint. So we're gonna start mixing up our color, our first color, which is going to be a bright green color. But before we do that, we're gonna drop some water into each one of the colors that we're gonna be using today. So I'm going to use red and orange and yellow and green and probably a little bit of blue and some brown. So putting that water in there will start to soften up the colors as we go, and they'll be easier to grab and mix in our lid. So this first section here is where I'm mixing the green and yellow. And so I'm going to grab some green, swirl my brush around, grab some of that green, and then drag my brush along the edge of the plastic so that the green drops into that first section. Once you've got some green, you're going to head into the yellow and do the same thing. Drag and drop that yellow into that first section. You're probably going to want a lot of yellow so that you get a nice bright green. Mix it up, see how that's looking. I think I need more yellow. So whatever kind of materials you're using, look for a bright green for this first color. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let me show you the first moves we're going to make on our page. Our artist is going to kind of smear some of that color on, and then he's going to make me cringe with how he's using his brush by splotching it directly down on the page, which makes me go, ah, because I'm worried that he's ruining the brush. But after doing that last period and now looking at my brush, it does not appear to be ruined, so I think we're okay. But we're gonna come into our color here. Normally I would not have this color so close to my page because doing so just almost guarantees you're going to get some extra drops on there. But just so you can see, I'm going to get some on here, maybe wipe some off, maybe even dab a little bit onto my paper towel so it's not too loaded up. And then I'm going to kind of smoosh my brush onto the page to kind of create these splotchy patterns for the tree. And I am going to add a few down all the way to the bottom because some of those bottom branches reach out really far and grab the sunlight. I do want to have some white paper showing through, so I'm not covering it all up. I think I went a little too heavy in this section, but that's okay. It'll happen. It'll be okay. I'll work with it. All right. After we've got our bright green, we're going to mix up our midtone. Let me scooch that out of the way a little bit. So for our midtone, we're going to grab our green again, and I'm going to mix it in the section next to that one, so it has its own section. So I'll grab a bunch of green, and I could probably just use it how it is, but I'm going to add a little bit of orange to it. And mix that. And maybe a little bit of red. I had some red left over in here from yesterday. So maybe just a smidge of red. Might have been too much red. That looks like very, very green, brownish green. Oh well, I'll work with it. I'll add more blue to my dark tone, to my shadow. All right, once you've got your mid-tone mixed up, we are going to now add that to our painting. So I'm going to dab some off so it's not too wet and I can kind of splotch it on there. So you're probably going to get a different brush pattern from what I have and from what our artist has if you've got a different shaped brush. And that's okay. You're just going to kind of deal with whatever brush you have. Come into the top section and add little bits of what might be shadow underneath these leaves in the highlight section. If it's too dark, come straight down with your paper towel and blot that up. You don't want to smear, but you could blot. Try maybe some swipes, some little dabs, some big dabs. Try out different techniques. All right, I'm digging it. You can kind of watch how our artist kind of dabs some mid-tones onto his tree using different strengths of dabbing with the brush and tapping with the brush and smushing with the brush to get a variety. And then he mixes up the dark shadow color, adding some purples and some blues, getting a nice dark tone. And he's concentrating on that bottom left corner away from the light, but he's also looking at the clumps of leaves and where there might be a shadow underneath the clump and kind of adding that in. And then he's going to mix up the brown for the bark. So we're going to add in our dark tones and then we'll come back and do the trunk. All right, so I first mixed up some green and brown and red in this section, and I got a really deep, rich brown. And I'm like, oh man, I need a shadow color. So then I mixed in a bunch of green and blue over here. So I wouldn't add any brown to this. I would just get a bunch of green, swipe it into your lid, and then maybe grab some blue and swipe that into the lid. Maybe some purple. And create a nice cool green. Cool meaning like cool tones. More bluish instead of being bright and yellow and red. I am going to add a little purple to this too. All right. Here we go. All right, I'm okay with that. One of the things that I did on accident last time is I added some of this brown in here, which wound up making it look like a dead part of the tree, which happens in real trees, right? Some of it might turn brown, it might be a little diseased, and it wound up being a happy little accident, which was kind of cool because it made it look a little more real. So you could try doing something like that too. So here's what I got. I think the best advice here I could give is don't overwork it. It should be kind of abstract. So the next step is to mix up our brown and then paint the trunk. So for this brown color, which I already have mixed up, I took green, brown, and red, and I think some orange. So I don't want to mix any more because I have a whole lot, but just try adding more green, more red, more brown to get to a brown color. And we'll see how the artist does it. He said, find the center of gravity, come down, make a trunk, and then make some branches that come off. And then look up in your tree where you see some of those airy, open white spots and add some branches in there. All right, we'll come back to that. So find the center. And then make some branches that come off. Find some of those white spots in the tree and add some branches in there. Okay. The last technique that our artist shows us is to add some texture to the bark. So we're going to clean our paintbrush off, and then we have our paper towel right next to us. And we wipe off our brush and then swipe and swipe, and we're pulling off some of the color with these little swipes. And that creates a little bit of light and shadow and also some texture. And we don't have time to add ground today, but if you want to, you can. I think I want to add another branch behind here. Yeah. All right, I could keep going because this is really fun, but I'm going to stop. Once you're done, you can sign your work if you want, or not. I did notice something, and I'm not sure if the student got my comment, but don't put your class period on there. We're in high school now, and you are an artist, and so at most, just put your name on it as a signature, or maybe on the back, put your whole name and maybe the year. But if you're just signing this as an artist, don't put your class period on there. You're just going to sign it. Wherever you feel like it makes sense. So yesterday we did it along the stem. I just kind of put it over here. And I put the date. So I put a little signature and a date. Or a year, sorry. Any questions or comments? Which one did you guys like better? The one from today or the one from yesterday?
Shape.
Wow, that looks great. Here's the assignment page from today. So we see our artist adding a little bit more shadow and texture to our tree trunk and branches. So you can come back in and add a little bit more shadow and depth on those branches. I feel like I kind of did that without talking about it. And then he's coming back in and kind of touching up some of the shadows and highlights. There we go. Well, I cannot wait to see what your guys' look like. I'm excited to see them. Whether you like them or not, I'm going to be excited to look at it. Can you guys give me some comments or feedback? Let me know how you're feeling about it.
So you know how you like smudge with the paintbrush?
Yeah.
With the paintbrush? I just kind of like did that, but just made a bunch of dots with the markers.
Nice. All right, cool. Do you guys want to go back and do Unit 12 instead, or you want to keep doing stuff like this? Thanks, Brenda. Brenda said stuff like this. All right. Jerisha, stuff like this. Okay. Haley, I don't care. I like both. All right. That's honest. Sandra, either or. Okay. Day, this is fun. All right. Awesome. Any other feedback, or most people just don't really care? Zora, fun. Okay. Victoria, Unit 12. Okay. You know what? Actually, now that you say that, what I might do is open up Unit 12 and put no due dates on it. And anyone that does Unit 12 on their own time, whatever assignments you do, will replace the zeros that you have in other modules. But you would have to do it on your own time. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? So it's not extra credit, it's not bonus, but like I'll open it up so that you can look at it, and if if you have a 0 for like unit 10 lesson 2, but you do unit 12 lesson 1, then I would fill in the blank, right? I would take the place of the 0. All right, I've got some work to do today. I have to update our calendar. I've got to make unit 12 open up and give you guys that option. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We've got about 5 minutes left, so if you haven't taken a picture of your work yet, go ahead and do that. I am on the wrong side of the table. I have a big, beautiful, bright window on this side. So I'm going to put my painting on this side, making sure that there's no shadow, and then come over the top of it. All right. And so there it is. It's got kind of a shadow on it. Dang, I just realized. Let's try that again. Okay, if I can balance it. Good. All right. So there it is. It's kind of zoomed out, but at least there's no shadow on it. And I can edit this. I can rotate it so it lines up a little better, right? Using that rotation tool. So it's a little more straight. And then crop it. There it is. Looks great. And I can send it via email to myself, or if you have Google Docs on your phone, or Google Drive, I mean, you can add it straight to your Google Drive. If you save, if you have Canvas app on your phone, you could directly upload the picture to the assignment page too. So we're going to start assignment, upload file, choose our file, and I have it in downloads right there. Open, submit, boom. If you want to double check that it's submitted, you can click on submission details and then view. And there it is. Day.
Watercolor and paint, well, watercolor and marker don't mix together because the tree is making me very uncomfortable. And now it's all over the table because it's water.
Oh, I'm
And I
sorry.
don't have any paper towels to downstairs, so I just have toilet paper upstairs.
All right, well, you are free to go if you want to get some help getting that cleaned up. I'm sorry that it didn't go so well.
That's okay, but it does look pretty cool.
All right, I'm excited to see what it looks like. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow if you want to come in and hang out, or I'll see you Monday. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.